they assumed their limitations were when it came to career. And so we want to encourage them to further their education or just think outside of the box when it comes to career options. In addition, we have nutrition wellness classes, parenting classes. We do require that they take a financial empowerment class that is given by the YWCA. Basically, we want them to have all the skills they need to be successful. And many of our participants have not been given that opportunity. And so we want to provide that for them and in turn for their families as well. Also, we participate in helping Hands Day through the United Way. And we've done this for about 3 years. And so instead of required community service, this is a community service that they volunteer to participate in that gives back to our community. In addition, we provide family counseling, trauma counseling, and individual counseling for all of our clients. Additional benefits of treatment court include improved family relationships, improved physical and mental health, reliable child support payments, and the improved well-being of children of parents participating in drug courts. Avoided costs include reduced reliance on financial support by both the government, family, and friends, a reduction in drug-related emergency department visits, fewer traffic accidents, and reduced need for protective orders. I also provided some specific numbers for savings from treatment court for all of you. I'm not going to go through all of them because it's pretty extensive, but treatment court saves an average of $6,000 per year for each participant that we serve. I would like to have Ms. Holtzgraf actually touch on how specifically treatment court has positively benefited the city of Green River.
Good evening, Council. I'm Detective Martha Holtzgraf. As you know, I currently work with the City of Green River and the Green River Police Department. I've had the opportunity to work with treatment court for about almost 4 years now. And I would have to say that there are probably fairly few far and in between positions where you have the opportunity to see somebody at the lowest point in their life and be able to follow them all the way through to the most successful portion of their life. Being able to sit on this treatment court board has been something that I never imagined that it'd be possible to be able to do. But to be able to establish some healthy relationships and bonds of the clients that we have, those that are from Green River, is probably not a relationship that many of our officers get the chance to have. We provide different types of sources and they get to see me as a police officer, as a normal human being. They are humans just like me, and they should be treated in that aspect every single time. So I enjoy working with it. I also have my family friend here that comes with me. He also participates in treatment court. It can be a little nerve-wracking for these individuals and having to make some decisions and choices that they've probably never made in their life. So his presence there just kind of allows them to kind of calm down. So I just want to say thank you. And I look forward to continue serving in our treatment court facility.
My name's Keisha Martinez. I graduated drug court over a year ago. During drug court, I received my associate's degree in psychology. I also received a lot of support, and I'm grateful for that. And I'm grateful for the structure that it gave me and just the opportunity it gave me to see life a different way. So I'm super grateful. Thank you.
I'm Fawn Vessels, and I graduated in December of this year or last year, and the bond that is given me with my family is amazing. The opportunity to have healthy relationships with friends, people I never thought that I would have. I stayed by myself. I didn't think I could reach out to others, and I've learned different today. I've gotten a lot out of it. The structure, the help, the mentality to know that it's okay to reach out to others, and including, law enforcement, because for a long time with the family that I had, that was not a thing. And I've learned different through treatment court. So that's all I have. Thanks.
That's all that we have for you today. Does anyone have any questions?
Very good. Council, do you have any questions, comments? Go ahead, Councilman Bushman.
I just have a comment. I'm actually reading a book regarding workplace stability, and you've actually created stability for these women here. And I'm very proud of the program that you have. And it's just amazing work that you do, and just having that, everything that you need to create that stability. So thank you for doing that.
Thank you for recognizing us.
Councilman Zimmerman.
In this day and age that we live in, we need every success story that we can get. And I'm just excited to see what's standing in front of me. Thank you so much for following through.
Very good. Councilman Kilpack.
I would like to echo that too. And I work with this type of work. I have the last year and a half, and I've seen people's lives completely change from one direction to a multiple of a huge better direction. And so thank you for what you do. It's really appreciated in the area. And it's sad that we have the need, but we do. Thank you.
Thank you for the recognition.
Anyone else? And I just want to say thank you to all the staff and congratulations to the two ladies that spoke up. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
And feel free to just walk right on out. You know, not that we're trying to get rid of you. I just not. Okay, next up is item B, Southwest Wyoming Off-Road Trails. Who would like to handle this?
Mayor Rust and Council, my name is Mark Tesoro. I am the president of Southwest Wyoming Off-Road Trails. Just make sure I got my phone off. Thanks for the opportunity to present tonight. Southwest Wyoming Off-Road Trails is an economic development project for the communities of Southwest Wyoming. About a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, I took an idea to the economic development group in Uintah County, the idea of connecting communities with a series of off-road motorized trails so that somebody could come in to the Evanston area, Bridger Valley, Kemmer area, unload an ATV or a side-by-side, ride in that community, stay in a hotel or a campground, go to a restaurant, fill up at a gas station, and then ride from there to different areas in the surrounding region to see great things like Fossil Butte National Monument, the Piedmont Kilns, Fort Bridger, historic fort, many of the historic and important places that there are in Southwest Wyoming that people could come in and see. They kind of like the idea. I thought that they would do something with it. Instead, they kind of pushed it back in my lap and said, why don't you do something? Why don't you put together a working group? And so I worked with Senator Wendy Schuler. Her husband was Rick Schuler, who was the district ranger for the Forest Service outside of Evanston for about 30 years. And pitched the idea to him, and he said, yeah, I'd love to be a partner in this. They already had 350 miles of ATV trails up in the Uintas above Evanston, and had thought about ways to try and connect those to the communities for many years, but could never really do it. And so once I approached him and Senator Wendy Schuler, the three of us started putting together a working group and brought people like Todd Griffith, who's with me here tonight. He's the vice president of our board, also a business owner in Evanston, but brought stakeholders together from the community to try and make this trail system happen. Since the off-road trails program is an accessibility issue, we worked with the city of Evanston for the better part of 2021, and they eventually approved a city ordinance, which was mirrored off of a city ordinance from Du Bois, to allow ATVs and side-by-sides on city streets, all city streets, with the state of Wyoming's $15 off-road sticker. Once we had done that, we also started working with the county commissioners in Evanston in trying to figure out ways to get from Evanston to the Bridger Valley area. And the most logical way was along the old Lincoln Highway. And so we use that as the main thoroughfare to get from those communities, or from one community to the other. Our motto that we came up with our working group and our board very early on was that we want to connect the communities, connect the forest, and connect the historical sites. And really, this is not something new that has been done in the Intermountain West or in the whole country for that matter. There are many existing ATV trail systems throughout the country, but the most notable ones probably in our area are in southern Utah, maybe in Idaho, in Colorado. So you don't have to look very far to see the economic benefit that those communities have in bringing an off-road trail system in to connect those communities. I had circulated an article that was written in one of the Utah newspapers last year by a gentleman who covered the outdoor recreation industry for motorized vehicles for 20 years. And he documented a $30 million economic benefit to the southern Utah communities around Moab, Garfield County trails, and Arpine County trails in southern Utah. These communities are very small communities, much like our communities in Southwest Wyoming. We've had a serious downturn in oil and coal and natural gas. And this would be a way to bring people into the communities. Right now, especially in our smaller communities, we have been pass through communities forever. People passing through, going to Flaming Gorge, to the Uintas, to Bear Lake, to Yellowstone. This would be a way to bring people into the communities, have them stay in your community, benefit the local economy by spending money in the community, and then using existing trail system to go out, see what there is to see in Southwest Wyoming. And we may not have the same types of natural wonders that they have in southern Utah with Zions and Canyonlands and Arches, but we have our own exciting and historical stuff to see in Southwest Wyoming. Places like the Oregon Trail, Mormon Trail, the Boar's Tusk, Red Desert, of course, the ones that I mentioned before, Fossil Butte National Monument. There is so much for people to come and see in Southwest Wyoming, and we just really haven't invited them. All of our neighboring states have existing trail systems, and people are going to those, but we just don't have something like that in Wyoming. Very early on, Rick Schuler, since he had worked with the State Trails Office, we made a call to Forrest Kaminga from Wyoming State Trails and partner with them. So the Wyoming State Trails Office has been with our project almost since day one. And Forrest, who's here tonight, who I'll have come up and talk in just a second. He's been to many of these meetings with me throughout Southwest Wyoming to help with these presentations. Also on board very early on was YDOT, because there are some accessibility and some statutory issues that need to be addressed in accessing into and out of these communities. So YDOT has been our other partner. So the three different groups have been moving this project forward, and we did have a bill that went before the legislature just this last session. Representative Byrd is here tonight, and I'll have him also come up and say a few words about that. But some of the partners that we've had and stakeholders that we've had in the past 2 years, city councils and county commissioners, chambers of commerce, landowners, industry, business, game and fish biologists and wardens, the BLM, the Forest Service, YDOT, wildlife advocacy groups, including Wyoming Wildlife Federation and Muley Fanatics, Wyoming Outdoor Council, Citizens for the Red Desert, Tread Lightly, Sweetwater Outdoor Rec Collaborative, State Trails and the Wyoming Outdoor Rec Office, the Wyoming Business Council, Wyoming Department of Ag, grazing associations, representatives and senators, and of course, law enforcement and highway patrol. So we've really tried to do everything we can to bring as many people to the table and help move this project forward. And the other communities, once they started hearing about the work that we're doing, kind of jumped on board and wanted to hear the presentations, wanted to do something similar that we've done. So since originally Evanston had signed the ordinance for the OHVs on city streets with a $15 off-road sticker, Lyman, Mountain View, Kemmer, LaBarge, Marbleton, Big Piney have all signed similar ordinances to allow these vehicles. We did give a presentation to the city of Rock Springs in January and also the Pinedale Town Council in November. Forrest and I, some of you may have been there, but we gave a presentation to the Sweetwater County Commissioners. It was very well received. And I see that Representative Larson or Commissioner Larson is here tonight. And 2 weeks ago, we were in Fremont County to speak with the Fremont County Commissioners and Landers. So really just a regional movement to open up, outdoor recreation in the form of motorized trails to our communities to help with some economic development. All of us know how important snowmobiling is to the state and the amount of revenue that snowmobilers bring into the state. And, really we shouldn't look at snowmobilers as a single motorsports season family. When we're pitching to snowmobilers to come out and ride, we should be asking them, hey, come back in the summer, come back and ride all that there is to see in Southwest Wyoming. And it doesn't have to start in Evanston. It can start here in Green River and go to Pinedale. It can start in Fort Bridger and go to Flaming Gorge. It can start in Kemmer and go to Evanston. Really, any one of the points in Southwest Wyoming can be, a staging point for people to come in and stay and spend their money in your community. So let me just turn over the mic to Forrest Kaminga, and then I think Representative Berg will jump in as well. And then Tara has a video that's queued up, a 3-minute video. So Forrest.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. I'll keep it short. Mark did a fantastic job on touching on most of it. And I think there's a Wyoming game on tonight. Anyways, just a kind of quick overview of the Wyoming State Trails program. The off-road vehicle side of things started in 2004, and it has spread like wildfire since. I think we started with about 20,000 registrations the first year sold in the state of Wyoming. 2020, that jumped to 65,000. That was 15,000 more than our average that we had been holding for 6 or 7 years. It was one of those that it was, we didn't really know how to manage COVID. We thought maybe it would decline use out there, but seemed like everyone, their neighbors, they all went out, bought these side by sides. It was a good way to socially distance and get out there and recreate. And I don't think it's gonna fall off anytime soon. I mean, I guess the cost of fuel, it might have put a hamper on it, but ultimately, I think this project is fantastic, and hats off to Mark. He's done a fantastic job, and he's got some great traction in this whole project. And ultimately, I feel that, this isn't necessarily inviting more use to the state. It is managing the use that's already here. And so if we can get, counties, cities on board, there's a pot of funding out there that can help, all these municipalities, help them manage it, whether it's signage, extra funds to put towards law enforcement, and just, education out there, or facilities for these off-road enthusiasts to stop at, bathroom facilities alongside the trail, whatever we can do. We're here to help. Last economic impact study that we did was pretty much stated that off-road vehicle use brought $240 million worth of economic impact to the state. And we are just updating that now, and I foresee that increasing drastically. So thank you for your time.
Thanks, Forrest.
Thanks, Forrest. One thing that I did forget to mention is that In May of last year, the Lincoln County Commissioners, the Uintah County Commissioners, and Rick Schuler and myself met with some officials from the BLM office out of Kemmer. And their first question, of course, is, are you looking at creating new roads and trails on public lands? And really the answer is no. These are existing oil-filled roads, windmill roads, county roads, ranching roads, 2-track roads that have been on the books with the BLM for decades. So really it's just a matter of finding, how do you get from point A to point B? If you're going to try and get from Fort Bridger to Green River, how are you going to do that? Maybe along the old Lincoln Highway to Granger, and then figure out ways to make some other connections. This is not a project where we're going to have to go out and make or create a bunch of infrastructure with a lot of cost. These are existing assets that we would be using for the communities. Representative Burt will come up next.
Mayor, Council, thank you, Mark, for bringing this and thank you, Forrest. So I don't want to take a lot of time. Obviously, Mark covered a lot of this, but where I do want to step in is, why did it fail at the state legislative body? That's where I'm at. So last year we spent the entire interim this is one of our topics. So we spent all summer last year, and as well, we also worked this during our committee session this year during the budget session as well. And when you say that we have the state agencies on board, that's a big hand to carry right there. YDOT was all in favor of making this happen. They understood there are some statute limitations that are currently on the books that prevent this from moving forward, but they did not uphold or did not hinder anything from changing those statutes at our level. So they're fully on board to make sure this happened. We even have support from the federal government willing to be able to work with us, because some of these trail accesses are near the interstate highway system. So a lot of those concerns were out there. And if anybody has any questions about that, that's really what I'm here for, is what did we hear about? What were some of the concerns? During the interim topic, we addressed all the concerns that I felt we actually needed to, and it had unanimous support from both our joint transportation committee, where both senators and representatives all come together, and we addressed the concerns, and we passed it out of the interim, and we sent it to the budget session. To tell you how much support this had at the state level, during a budget session, anything that's not a budget item has to require 2/3 majority vote to get introduced into the budget session. And that was unanimous bill got sent back to the committee. So during the committee, our actual session committee, we heard it again. And where I can tell you where the committee failed this project wholeheartedly is that some of the concerns are, if we allow this particular project to move forward, then we as a state may have to hear more concerns or more special projects from others across the state that may want another special project across the highway. That's our responsibility. That's what we are elected to do, is make sure that we address the issues. We make sure that our statutes fix to where we can bring Wyoming into basically 21st century and bring a new economic, development. So none of those concerns were brought during the interim topic, only during the session, which is we had very limited time. So one thing I would like to push back on, Forrest, is with the cost of fuel, we make these decisions. I ride a motorcycle. When the fuel cost goes up, I try to figure out how to ride my motorcycle to work more often than my regular truck. So I would say that with the higher cost of fuel and folks staying within our area more and more, we can capture more of those dollars here in our local communities by getting this moved forward. I did speak with the chief here, and I understand we do have some statute concerns that law enforcement have to manage, and I get that. There are things that we need to be working with, and we hear those from the city as well as from the state level. I can tell you that if it gets back into the interim topic again, which I do believe it's in another committee for this next interim session, we will continue to look at the statutes. We'll continue to work those statutes. That's what we do at our level, to make sure that we do allow the communities to come on board and make this happen. So I'll stand for any questions. Like I said, I've worked this for all last year as well as this interim or this committee. So
Anybody have any questions now, or you want to wait? Okay. Thank you, Representative Burt.
thank you, man.
My co-pilot reminded me that I actually butchered Representative Lloyd's Commissioner Lloyd, thank you. Sorry, appreciate you coming. Yeah, he's from Evanston. How many people raise their hands if you have an ATV or side by side and ride? So a lot. Senator Kolb is also here tonight. He has been with me to present several times as well. I think he'd like to come up and say a few words.
Good evening, Mayor, Rustin, Council. First time I've been here since council's changed. In so much as I'll take another spin at this. So I just to say my legislative work that I do, I am the Senate liaison for YDOT. I'm the interface to YDOT. So I sit in all the committee meetings. I was going to make a joke about the House failing the bill, and the Senate probably wouldn't, but I don't think the House members would think that's too funny. But that's the way it goes in politics, right? What I wanted to express is this point of view. Green River is going to be an integral part of this because of where you sit. Realize the distances, right, between communities and gasoline and food. This is a step forward for economic diversity. Yes, there's some challenges here with access, and there's some details the city has to work out with just how you're going to handle this, within your city limits. But I think it's a great opportunity that we now have in front of us, to diversify. Frankly, a lot of folks talk about this, and I've heard it an awful lot, but nobody comes up with a real viable plan. So, most of the time, this is a viable plan. This will be an interconnect between the far eastern side of the state and us here. And then what I think a lot of folks from the eastern side or Evanston side don't realize is we have many, many things here in Sweetwater County that people would like to visit. It's just huge. It's vast. And it has its own, things you have to be careful with. Going out in the sand dunes or seeing all these natural sites that we do have around here. I think it'll be a great thing for people to explore. What we need is some, stepping off points, parking areas, places like that are pretty important where you folks might have input on trailheads. Where do you think the best places would be? Those are important decisions. But in the big picture, I'm with Mark. I've been following him and trying to support him at these meetings. And I'll just conclude the statements, but thank you for having my chance to comment, Mayor and Council.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you, Senator. Any questions? Stand for any questions.
Any questions for Mark? Oh, go ahead, Councilman Burke.
Have you been in contact with Sweetwater County Travel and Tourism?
Janessa, right?
Yes.
Yes, I did invite her. She's been on the email list that I send out. I usually send out a monthly email that I have been for about the past almost 2 years, where we're at on the project, who we're talking to. So I did invite her tonight. I don't know if I see her tonight, but yes, I have included her and Rick Lee from the Rock Springs Chamber as well. So again, trying to reach as many different stakeholders as possible.
Thank you.
Yes.
Anyone else, Council? Go ahead, Councilwoman.
I just had a question. You were mentioning, I know Representative Burt was mentioning there's a filled out of the committee. Can you be more specific of what that obstacle was? And I don't know if that had to do with the YDOT or is that the only obstacle that you have? And just say if everyone was in agreement, what is it exactly?
Mayor, Councilman or Councilwoman Bushman. So the main concern that really when we work through the entire bill. So if you're just a quick rundown of how it really works out, so you have an idea. So it wasn't just like a 30-minute presentation. We spent the better part of a good hour at this. Well, last year we spent countless hours throughout countless months working the bill on hearing concerns. And some of those concerns were that the access right now, where we need to get the state involved is we have a 3-mile stretch that has to parallel the interstate. So getting that involved required getting YDOT involved. And then of course, the federal government, just by the nature of the roads. By the time we were done with interim topic, we were able to come with an agreement of being able to change the language of the statute that required this to move forward, as well as having approval from YDOT to have a special barrier put in place that would separate the highway from the riders. And that way, in case a vehicle lost control, then whether it's a physical cable barrier or a physical barrier, the YDOT engineers would figure that out. I'm not that high in the pecking order on engineering, but that was an agreement that we had to figure out. And that's what came from the federal government as well as from YDOT that said, hey, if we're going to traverse this portion of this trail system where it has to parallel the interstate, we have to be able to keep the public safe. And then that's how we work through these processes. And that was one of our answers was we'll put up a barrier, and that seemed to work through the entire committee. And as far as I knew, when we finished interim topic, that we had hit all the checks that we needed to in order to move it. Now, interim topics can either fail or pass during a joint committee. And that particular bill, like I said, had unanimous support. And when I say unanimous support, that's all of the senators and all the representatives in the Joint Transportation Committee through the entire interim topic. If someone had an issue, then they would have voted against the bill as it sat, or we would have continued to work the bill. So when we say that we had, unanimous support, then there shouldn't have been any concerns. When it passed the introduction to get through the budget session, it got sent back to the Transportation Committee. We worked that bill for about another hour during one of our House committee members. And Senator Colb's mentioned it. When I say the House failed it, is because it never made it out of the House committee during the budget session. Now, one of the main concerns that the chairman of the committee had brought up was that his idea was that if we pass this, then again, we're going to have to open up the floodwaters to anybody else that has a special interest on how to pass some measure to where we can traverse the side of the highway. Well, I haven't heard of any other, I've been in the Transportation Committee for a bit now. I haven't heard any other special requests coming through that we're going to have to find an answer to it. This is the first. Is it possible down the road that we could see something else? I think so. But it isn't an unanimous, just broad sweep and say, well, now we're just going to, approve this one. It'd go back through the process. What do we need to address? What concerns are there? And bring in the state agencies such as the parks and YDOT, federal agencies such as that. So the main concern was that where we could open up the door to a very slippery slope and I guess hypothetically see an influx of requests from around the state to where we would have to try to appease everybody on trying to bring in special requirements to allow people to traverse the highways. So like I said, I was extremely disappointed. I was in favor of this, but we as the House, we failed I see we failed this as a state for not being able to push up this economic push. I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
But if that's going to be the obstacle, is there a workaround besides that 3 mile piece? Because that's going to be your stop, right? If you can't do the 3 miles, then you can't connect. Is that it? I'm just
Mayor,
trying to. better
Councilman,
understand.
so there are other workarounds, whether or not they'll be successful or not. So it's a possibility that this same bill that we worked last year and we heard this committee can get assigned to another committee to be worked through the entire process again. So we can remove it from the committee that wasn't favorable to it and put it to another committee that would be favorable, such as our tourism committee. And when I said that, we have that 3 mile stretch that may seem like it's the obstacle. We already have the answers from YDOT that allows us to move forward. We as a committee needed to sign off on it in committee, to get it in front of the floor and hear and debate amongst all the representatives and work through the process. And then if we had issue on opening the floodgates for everybody that had a special interest on traversing the interstates, and that should have been brought up during the interim topic, not when we already did all that work. And it was,
I just hope it doesn't prolong another year, 2 years down the road. So that's what I'm saying. If there was a workaround.
on that particular, I
that's
mean,
all.
Mark would be able to tell you on how that trail system will go through that particular area. I just know on us, we have the answer to address that 3 mile corridor.
Maybe change the committee.
So we'll go through a different committee. We'll never know whoever gets reelected on, if the committee changes again, it could change the sway of the vote and stuff like that. So we'll try to push it through another more favorable, more positive, forward thinking committee for the state.
More testimonials. Thank you.
Thank you.
So just jumping back in on this, the 3 mile connection, that is outside of Evanston. So since again, it's an accessibility issue, we worked for the better part of a year and a half to try and figure out the easiest county road access. Again, the county road being the public right of way, the easiest county road access to Evanston. The nearest one was exit 210 just outside of Evanston, which is about 3 miles away. And the landowner that owns both sides of the interstate, we tried to get them to the table with land swaps, maybe with a recreational easement, a paid easement through the state. I mean, we tried every way to get them to the table. At the end of the year, the landowner just basically said, we're not interested in this project. You know, we don't want to have anything to do with it. At that point is when we went with the State Trails Office, State Outdoor Rec Office to approach YDOT, and YDOT basically said, we got to check with the feds, see if the feds will allow this inside the interstate right of way. And lo and behold, they did. So from that point, it was kind of fast forward, YDOT, State Trails, and SWAT working all together to try and get this 3 mile connection. I haven't really studied a lot of the county roads and the accesses into and out of Sweetwater County. I'm working on that now with Forrest and with several stakeholders here, including Gene Legursky from the County Road and Bridge. But that was very unique to Evanston. So one way to also look at that is that the rest of the communities that have gotten on board with this project can get going, and Evanston will have to figure out a way to get out of town. You know, there are county roads, there are state highways that you guys can probably use and access, but you know, that 3 mile holdup is specific to Evanston.
Go ahead, Councilman Kilpack.
I just have one comment, and that is about 5-6 years ago, we approached this as a council and was asked to make the city of Green River, the whole town, trail roads. And we did approach it and study it. And I think the chief can tell you more than what I can tell you, but we ran into some snags because Interstate 80 goes right through town. And unless that's changed, for the YDOT has that power, I don't know, but we couldn't let them cross the roads. And so we have approached that. Well, not all of them this year, but the mayor and that's it, the mayor and myself. I don't think you was here, Mike, when we approached that. And so it has been discussed here and we have looked at that, but we did run into some real obstacles where we could not do it because of some of the statutes. So we have, and that's just for the city, just the city area.
And we'll look at it again.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mayor and Councilman. Yeah. So, I mean, sometimes I think it's mistaken when people talk or when YDOT says, you know, they're going to allow to cross the road. It's underneath the road. You know, there are multiple, whether they're agricultural or underpasses that could be used. And that's what we would be using outside of Evanston as well as an underpass. Do you want to show the video real quick? And then I think that will be it.
You would think that that would be a great advertisement for the traffic on I-80 to see this right alongside of the road. That would pique their interest. You know, you think that would be great advertisement.
Mayor, Councilman, yeah, absolutely. You know, that's what we thought is if we can't get the landowner on board, and if it's right next to the interstate, you know, what a great way to invite people into the community, people that are driving through, passing through our communities and going someplace else to recreate, saying, hey, look, they're riding side by sides right here and they're going into Evanston. Maybe we should take a look at it. Is it not going now? If you want to just forward that to the council, that'd be great. And they can watch it at their leisure.
Yeah.
Mayor, any other questions, sir?
You know, I just like to say, I actually have seen your presentation twice in different committee assignments and different things that I have. And I'm pretty sure that we'll be exploring this and moving ahead and thinking about it in the same way that other communities in Southwest Wyoming are doing. So we appreciate your presentation. And I would like to say too, separate from that, that We have 2 state legislators and a state senator here. And I'd just like to take the opportunity at the end of the session to thank you guys for all that you do. Because it's a tough job. I know it is. So thank you, Mark, for this presentation. Thank you, the legislators, for showing up for this. And I'm going to take a 1-minute recess. And if anybody wants to make a break, they can. And if not, we'll reconvene and talk about the rest of our agenda. So thank you very much, Mark.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. We will continue to work on our. We actually need some mayor to come. Yeah, I have your legislative. I like John's on that end of the state. Yeah, it's all fun and games till we tell somebody what to do. And then somebody else enforcement. Then writes up. That's what we got. We just from the get go, you guys. Yeah, so I would control the board. So we could travel. Yeah. Take care. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. If you guys have any questions, reach out to me. We spend more time on this.
Yeah, I'm in transition. Senate work.
Thank you. I'm here. Try to work out the details.
Nice to meet you. I just want to tell you, I've worked on this for I never gave you an answer. Well, I asked, show me what the federal guidelines are to restrict you from doing things like that. So it's like, okay, the city's going to skip it. Well, yeah, so I'm just going to pass it on to you, Mayor. Oh, yeah.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Okay, moving on. Item 5, citizen requests and other communications. Are there any citizens in the audience that are not on the agenda that would like to address the council? Go ahead, sir. Yes, no. You get to speak when that comes up. We'll ask you, okay? I'll make sure. Okay, next, since there weren't, go ahead, Commissioner Larson. I know his name is Lloyd.
You know, I've been called a lot of names today, and that might have been the best one, to be honest with you. But just want to come and represent the commission tonight. I'm Commissioner Roy Lloyd. I do have a prospective contract to bring to you guys to look at. I will hand it over here to Chief Jarvie, and we're just looking for your input upon the contract that we came up with fire. And as we've worked through that, and I want to reiterate a couple of things. I don't see you guys as bad contractors. I see you guys as a great, valuable community service. And I see this as a great partnership to be able to provide great service to our constituents. And I know it's bumpy getting there, but I think this is a big move. And I think it helps us look at potential ways to get to, maybe a smoother look at consolidated fire. And I think this is everyone's talked about it for years, and this is the first step anyone's ever made. So I think the county and District 1, Green River, Wamsutter, and Granger, who will all be part of that, need to be commended. But what we have is that you guys can get back to us on it and let us know what you think. And we will be inviting you to our next meeting to sit with our other partners as we hammer out contracts and figure out what's next. So any questions for me?
No, thank you, Commissioner Lloyd. We'll check it out.
Okay.
We'll be getting back with you.
I just have to tell you, it's really nice to be on this side of the podium instead of up there. So I'm going to enjoy some of the meeting.
All right. With that, I'm going to open the public hearing. This is a public hearing on an ordinance amending Chapter 7, Articles 2 through 9, building and building regulations. If there's anybody that wants to address this public hearing, please speak up, step up. Seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing. We'll be talking about the essence of what's going on here in about 3 or 4 minutes. Okay, you guys understand what's going on with all this? Okay. Item B, reappointment of Storm Adcock to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. Storm Adcock has volunteered to continue to serve. Oh, did I miss something? What a surprise. Okay, appointment of Rick Jones to the Green River Arts Council. The Green River Arts Council has recommended the appointment of Rick Jones to the Green River Arts Council for a 2-year term, and I concur with that recommendation. Do we have a motion?
Mayor,
Oh, Councilman Berg.
I move to confirm the mayor's appointment of Rick Jones to the Green River Arts Council for a 2-year term.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilman Berg, seconded by Councilman Bushman. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Okay, Storm Adcock has volunteered to continue to serve on the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. She said it would be an honor to continue to work with this board and focus on implementing the shared vision. So this is a reappointment of Storm Adcock to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. Do we have a motion?
Mayor,
Councilman Kilpack.
I move to confirm the mayor's reappointment of Storm Adcock to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board for a 3-year term beginning April 1st, 2022 and expiring March 31st, 2025.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilman Kilpack, seconded by Councilman Zimmerman. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Oh, on this one. Yes, come on up. I'm sorry. Move too quickly.
I went to the restroom, so I didn't feel like I had enough time, honestly.
No, that's no problem.
All right, so the microphone's already on, I'm assuming?
Yes, yes.
So my name is Matthew Johnson, and I'm the son of Melanie Johnson and brother of Shane Johnson, who works in the bowling center over there, what used to be Clearview Lanes, the Fishbowl. I'm pretty sure he's popular with a lot of the members of the public. And I wanted to come and address an issue that involves over half a trailer court. If anybody remembers Monroe Trailer Court, which is now known as Emerald River Estates, I've come to the knowledge that about almost a month ago at this point, over half of them are about to be evicted for quite literally no reason. The excuse that the attorney is giving is that their trailers are too old. My mother not being an exception either, but they were originally relying on violation policies But since they had everybody sign month-to-month leases, which we all know here in Wyoming, or if for those who don't know, the Wyoming landlord tenant laws do not provide protections for people in said leases for any occasion. And with this being said, it's basically already become a financial burden to me and my mother and my brother as well. And hardship after hardship, year after year, it's becoming a pain in the ass, honestly. Sorry for the language, to have to keep dealing with these kinds of issues. And I did want to address this at a city council meeting. I just haven't had the mentality to do it. Being a disabled veteran, my anxiety and my depression keep kicking me into overdrive. Like even now, my hands can't stop trembling. That's why I hold them together. And it's just really hard to understand why this is happening, especially here in the city of Green River, where we want people to stay, where we want people to implore, involving themselves in the community. Well, how can we help that if we're constantly neglecting these members of the community who most of the people here probably don't even remember? My mom included, she's been living in that trailer court for about 29 years now. And her trailer, I don't feel is in the best condition for moving in the first place. But for us to have to spend a couple $1,000s just to get the permits to move her to her new location, to get the pay for the towing services. And then of course we need to find a new shed for her as well, because her shed, we can't move. I don't feel like we can anyways. It's too old and dilapidated. And that's another few $1,000s. So it's become a real struggle to have to deal with this madness. And I just wanted to voice this concern at a council meeting. I didn't know if this would be the proper place, honestly, because I don't believe anybody here can do anything about it. But I was under the assumption that maybe people might know others, or maybe telling this version or this side of the story would be good enough to at least make people think about it. As for my mom, she's already started cleaning her trailer and her shed, but I can only imagine the pain that she's going through, because just last year, or I believe the year before, we lost her mother, Charlene Bosner, who lived in Rock Springs for the longest time. And we even had an eviction attorney who specializes in cases just like this. They said that there's nothing we can do. And it upsets me so much more to have not just an attorney fail us, but the system designed in Wyoming fail us, the law fail us. And it enrages me even more. As a disabled veteran, I should have more power over that, but I don't. So I just wanted to voice that concern real quick. And I do apologize for taking up a little more time than I'm allowed, but I do appreciate the time you guys took to listen to my side of the story. And that's where I'll have to leave it.
I appreciate your remarks, and we'll explore this a little bit with the staff and see what everybody knows about it. I think you're going to accomplish part of what you're intending to accomplish, because the press is here and it's going to come out that there's some issues, and that's going to bring some attention to the cause. So good that you came up and spoke up for something that we're not aware of. So we appreciate it.
Believe it or not, both the Rocket Miner and the Green River Star are aware of this. I made it clear to them, and I do believe about half the city knows at this point, along with about half of Rock Springs, because I have told all my friends and some business owners that I'm close with about this situation as well. And they all have said the same thing. There's nothing that they can do.
Okay. Well, I'm not saying they can, but I don't know about it. Well, we'll look into it anyway. Okay.
I
Appreciate you
it.
bringing it up.
Thank you.
Okay. And I see that I completely missed under item 5, citizen requests and other communications, the public input on the special purpose tax. Should we not be addressing that in the order of the meeting? So
Mayor and Council, Ryan Russ, Government Affairs and Grants, not the public, but just by way of a brief introduction, saying that there's not a whole lot of public here to comment. Just a quick update, as you know, we've submitted a list of projects. The city of Green River keeps the list updated regularly of projects that need to be completed in the town, and that has been provided to the county so that the citizens have an opportunity to look at that list and have a really open public process that we've committed to as a city and as a specific purpose tax committee, should we decide to move forward with that. So I believe you all have seen that list. The county commission had reviewed some of those today in their meeting and understand that those are very preliminary and there will be some changes as the discussion moves on. There's also going to be a community survey that comes out this week. So we're using this as a platform to let folks know that that's available, and also a website on the county's webpage with more information about the specific purpose tax. So if there's any community members that'd like to speak to it, that's what we're here for. But otherwise, just a brief introduction and any questions that you might have. So
Thanks, Ryan. Are there any members of the public that are going to address this? I don't see them. Okay. So we're just moving ahead with that. And I think obviously, as Ryan just mentioned, the survey is going to give us some information. The city of Green River's position has been a little bit more hold back in the sense that we want to hear from our citizens before we finalize, projects and things like that. That's the whole idea of the project and the process. So that process is taking another step forward this week with the survey. And again, with the county commissioners looking at all the various projects that have gone to them that they came out with today. So that's moving ahead. Go ahead, Councilman Kilpack.
For the council's information as we move forward with this, hopefully we'll get a little more information this week and then when we meet next week in our workshop, this will be part of the discussion and hopefully we can get a lot of information to everyone.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? All right. Let me see if I can get back on track now. Item 8, ordinance is item A, consideration on first reading and ordinance amending the City of Green River Ordinance, Chapter 7, Article 2 through 9, buildings and building regulations.
Mayor, Council, thank you. Ken Yeager, Senior Building Inspector. This is updating the International Code Council codes for buildings, which includes the plumbing, mechanical, electrical, pretty much everything that we build from. The state, a few months back, had adopted the 2021 codes. Rock Springs is either in the process or has already done it, which it's customary that we go ahead and adopt them as well. These changes this year, I've looked through the changes of the International Residential Code. The majority of the changes are just updating definitions, updating the technology that we have out there. None of the changes are really going to give contractors hardships. It's just kind of better guidance. Some of them even make the code a little clearer as far as the size of things have shrunk down to where it's not going to take as much to build. The state is in charge of the electrical code already. They're already at the 2020 code. So we're just adopting what they have already adopted there. And short of that, I'm open to any questions.
Councilman Zimmerman.
We passed our county 2021 ICCs today to the commission. So.
Yeah, good. I mean, you have to. It's just what you do. It's pretty standard. Any other comments or questions from the council? Okay, this is the first reading, so I'm sure things will come up as we go along. Thank you, Ken. Item B, consideration on first.
excuse me, Mayor, you do need to call for a vote.
Hang on. I'll entertain a motion on the first reading.
Mayor.
Don't confuse me there. Go ahead, Councilman Burke.
I move to approve on first reading the amendments to Chapter 7 of the City of Green River Code of Ordinance as they relate to the adoption of the 2021 International Code Council building codes.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilman Berg, seconded by Councilman Shuttrin. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Okay, everybody help me out here. So we've got that. Item B, consideration on first reading an ordinance to rezone property from B2 downtown business to B1 general business. Go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Amy Cox, Planning and Zoning. I just want to say that I need to bring attention, there's a clerical error in the report. For this item, the public hearing before the governing body was held on February 1st, not January 25th that I think I can put. But you guys were here for that. So, and then normally we would have had the first reading at the same night as the public hearing, the city council public hearing, following the city council public hearing, but the city had requested from the applicant a corporate resolution of the property owner reflecting the authority of the signer. The city has since received that, which is why we're here tonight and moving forward. I know we've got somebody here that wants to talk about this, and I've also got Rick Magnus here with AWA Engineering. They can answer questions on behalf of Smiths. So,
Okay, thank you, Amy. Sir, it's your opportunity.
I am one of the lucky residents that live across the street from this that Smith's is wanting rezoned. And the neighbors right in the immediate vicinity are not very well in favor of having two gas stations 150 feet apart, an unmanned gas station about 18 hours of the day or 16 hours, that it's on its own, it's under automation, there's no control, no nothing. Another place that's lighted all night long, since it will be a business, and a place where the Green River kids can come and hang out, throw their trash out and make a mess and just be a typical nuisance. And the Bridger Drive is one of the busiest streets in Green River, and it is very poor maintained, and the increased traffic is going to make it a mess on our street. So we're not in favor at all of adding the traffic, the added place for kids to hang out at night, and the lighting that'll be on all night, since it will be a 24-hour operation that'll only be manned 6 to 8 hours a day.
Okay, hang on, sir. Tell us, well, I recognize you. I don't know what your name is. So tell us for the record what your name is, if you would.
Gordon Smith.
Gordon?
Yes, Gordon Smith.
Okay, Gordon, thank you.
I drive the orange Jeep. You've all seen that.
Oh, that must be it. So, okay, would anybody else like to address the council on this zone change? Go ahead, sir. You bet.
Is that my cue, maybe?
Yes.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. It's good to be here. I'm getting familiar with the route. I'm getting familiar with the timing. I want to just commend staff for working with us on this application. You have wonderful staff members. Mr. Smith's comments, I know you've heard this before. Matter of fact, this was approved by council, the general plan amendment. And if you remember that this particular parcel is a portion of one zone and another, and we're just trying to bring it in conformity for the entire parcel. Just to clarify a few things from the comments that were made by Mr. Smith, it will be manned 2 shifts. It will be the graveyard that sometimes will not have someone there, but it will be lighted and someone could come use their card, similar to other convenience stores that have limited hours and not 24-hour, but 2 shifts for sure will be there. And I mean 2 8-hour shifts there. And it's, if you have seen Smith's, how they take pride in their properties, and these fuel centers, they call them, they usually have an area where someone is there to take care of any type of needs that they have, whether a person walks up and automatically accesses fuel, or if they want a snack, they can get that. If there's any kind of transaction that can take place. There's also when we advance, hopefully, to DRC, we'll review that site plan and with all the departments and make sure that everything complies with code. It really is not conducive to having youth or anyone really hang out. This isn't a walk-in kind of store or loiter or have that transaction happen. I'm sure Smiths would rather send them into the grocery store where they put milk in the very far back and have you gather things up as you come back through. And then with regards to lighting, will conform to the lighting standards that are required by code here in the city. One advantage that has happened over the years is LED lighting. It's very controllable, directional, and it's not allowed to spill out into the right of way, let alone across the street. It always kind of maintains itself on site and doesn't have that opportunity to, if you will, bleed out into other properties. This site plan has been kind of before you. I don't know if you had any specific questions about that or the use or where we intend to proceed with this. But once again, staff was very helpful in making sure that we had the right documentation for the application itself.
Okay, thank you. Council, who wants to weigh in on this, if at all? Councilman Byrd.
I do have a question as far as this. Has there been a traffic study done? Because one of the concerns, the one you did not address during, what you were saying was the traffic. And I know when you came to council a month ago and spoke with us, you said that it would not create any other traffic. But I do believe you basing that on where Smith's is located now at the opposite end, at the west end, there's an intersection there and there's multiple ways in and out of Smith's from that. But now you're directing them into a small parcel that is more residential. So has a traffic study been done to either complement what you're saying that it won't create more traffic, or?
So an official traffic study has not been submitted to the city. It hasn't been a requirement. However, in looking at these, so convenience stores in general, and I use convenience store because that's what the traffic study designation is for something like this, even though it doesn't have, it's not similar to, say, a Maverick, that has food and restrooms inside or anything like that. What these types of fuel centers key on is existing traffic that is there. This is a use that captures what is going on. What may change is traffic movements. That's what might be something that you would see. Quite often, the traffic is already there. And once again, we talk about movements, whether they're going to cut through the parking lot itself, or as they're passing by. This is just a stop, maybe before they go into, further down the road to Smith's. We normally don't do that, provide a traffic study if it's not required. We have looked at volumes. Volumes are available on this, and we have studied that. That's actually where Smith's and other uses have already, that's why they locate where they're at, So if this is something that the council is looking for, we can do something like that. and provide that during our design review committee, applications, and we can meet that. Hi there.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Mark Westenscope, Public Works Director. For the rezone, which is the phase of the project that we're looking at right now, a traffic study is not necessarily required. The traffic study will be something that we talk about with the applicant when they do their site plan review. And I will be very interested in seeing what their generation numbers are. I will be very interested in seeing what their pass-by assumptions are. As a convenience store, we would expect to have a pretty high percentage of pass-by. And I agree with Mr. Magnus that I'll be very interested in seeing what the movement changes will be. We would expect not a huge change in volume, but more of a change in where those cars are, which entrance which entrance they select to use, either to come in or go out. So those are the things that I'm going to be looking for when we do the site plan evaluation.
Because yeah, that's kind of how I feel is, for any, not specifically for the fuel center, but from any B2 downtown business, which typically has, curbside parking in front, not always a wider street, us as a council, that's one of the things that we have to consider is public safety.
Yeah.
And so not just on the fuel kiosk, but the zoning change.
Yeah.
I feel it could be a public safety issue.
Well, and the zoning change, because this is one proposal, but it doesn't necessarily have to be this. I mean, if the zone were to be changed and they decided to, for whatever reason, to not go forward, something else could come, and we would be looking at the traffic for whatever that is, for whatever that use that actually comes in. So that's why at the rezone stage is not. So a lot of times they'll run them parallel here, and they're trying to run the rezone in advance to make sure that they're able to proceed with their real estate transaction. So
thank you, Mark.
Yep.
Anyone else from council? Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Mayor, City Council, from when he was here and gave their proposal for the first zoning change. This has changed a little bit from what he proposed or said that there would be a kiosk only, no convenience store. And he said it would only be manned one shift. Now I'm hearing you can buy a candy bar or something.
Right.
That was because I asked the same question in the first meeting for the rezoning. So that's changed since the first meeting. If there's you can buy candy bars and drinks there along with that. And we were told that there'd only be one shift that manned that kiosk during the day. And now they're saying two, which is better, but
okay.
We're still objecting.
Okay.
Mayor?
Wait a second. Did you want to respond to that?
I actually just wanted to make sure that everything was discussed about the traffic. That seems very important, and that will be done. We had always planned on addressing all those requirements when
Which
we
generally
went
happens
forward.
at the development review.
Yes.
When you're talking about the site plan. Okay.
Yes, of course.
Councilman Kilpack.
I just have one question. Since Smith has a liquor license, will liquor be sold at that convenience store?
None of these sell liquor. Because those are specific to an address, and this honestly is a fuel center. Once again, if they can go into the store and then pick up a few other things, it works a lot better.
Okay. Go ahead, Councilman.
Sorry. And I'm sorry I wasn't here at the last meeting, but you might have covered this. What was the criteria that Smith's had to actually come out to have a kiosk gas station there?
So they they look at the fit of the community. First of all, the location is very important. Normally, they like to have it directly out front of their store. And this is out front of the, if you will, the complex or the commercial center that's there. It is determined that because of the community, and we just heard tonight that let's have a few more toys go through the community, and there are other fuel needs, especially being another gateway to Flaming Gorge and recreation. There is an opportunity to sell fuel for Smiths and have it be a profit center for this location. And it also reflects their commitment to this community. They really want to stay here. And this is a component that complements everything else. They found it to be a good fit. So in looking at this area, they looked at a number of, demographics, things that are happening in the community, everything else like that made this a good idea.
Thank you. I just had a follow-up on that.
Yes.
Why today? How come this didn't occur maybe a few years ago or something of that nature?
So one thing that happened internally is Smiths took a step back from this approach with their existing stores. And now recently, within the last year, there's been two things that have happened with Smiths. They have looked at this at their existing sites and how they can get them to fit. And this parcel happened to be kind of a continuation of their development or their store there, a complement to it. And then also they've had changes in management also within the last year that enabled them to come back and look at this. And this is a community that they want to definitely stay established in. Yes, of course.
Anyone else? Okay, well, yeah, go ahead, Amy.
And I'm here to answer any other questions.
Sure.
So there you go.
I would just like to put this out there that a convenience store is already a permitted use in this zone. It's the only reason for the zone change and what they're proposing is because they want the gas sales. So convenience store is already a permitted use. I just wanted to clarify that.
Okay, we'll entertain a motion.
Mayor,
Councilman Chatrin.
move to approve on the first reading an ordinance to amend the official zoning map of the city of Green River to rezone property located at 1175 Bridger Drive from B2 downtown business to B1 general business.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion to approve this on first reading signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, so let's see the fours to raise your hand. Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, it's 6-1. And I would just like to say, Mr. Smith, that this is a first reading. This is a process. So we'll see how things go and we'll see what happens from the public and public input, for the second time around. If your neighbors are have a strong feeling for whatever they believe, they need to show up and express their feeling. Yeah.
You'll see me a couple of times.
Okay. And I'm not taking a position one way or the other. I'm just saying it's the first reading. It's the first step. We'll see what happens. It's a process. Okay. I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Mayor,
Councilman Chatrin.
I make a motion, we approve the consent agenda.
I'll second it.
Okay, moved by Councilman Chatrin, second by Councilman Jost. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Mr. Acting City Administrator.
In the interest of basketball fans everywhere, I have no report tonight, Your Honor.
Thank you, Acting City Administrator. Mr. City Attorney.
I have no report, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, Galen. I'm going to go next. I have no report in the interest of Wyoming basketball. Councilman Zimmerman.
I have no report tonight.
Councilman Berg.
The only thing I want to state is my reasoning for my vote against
Sure.
is purely public safety.
Sure. And I want to say, just in response to that, I don't question that, Robert. I do think that in the Development Review Committee, if there's a lot of mechanisms, and that's one of the ways that's addressed. It's not the only way, because the first step really is the zone change. And I think that, for my own purpose, I want to go back and look at both the zone district that exists and the zone district that's proposed and get more comfortable with those on what can be done and what can't be done and how different this is than the existing zone and the existing neighborhood, because that's what you deal with. And can you deal with all the safety issues that are involved?
Because I do see that. I just think, I understand that the zoning change should happen first, and then the traffic study should be done based on the business that's going to move in.
Mm-hmm.
But there's got to be some kind of way to do a traffic study based on B1 and B2.
Well, and the bottom line is that property appropriate for all of the permitted uses that are being, that's the question.
Yeah.
I'm not positive that that's been answered. Councilman Shuttrin.
In the true spirit of shop local, buy American that we didn't hear this evening, I'd like to remind everybody that there's a ribbon cutting this Friday at 5:30, Twisted Timber Apparel, and they're located at 560 East Flaming Gorge Way. And I invite everybody to come out and support new local business.
Yeah,
That's all
I think it's a great idea that we actually are having an apparel store in Green River. That's great. Councilwoman Bushman.
Thank you. So I'll keep it quick. So just a reminder that the governor will be here next Saturday. So please be at the American Legion at 7:30. It's going to be a welcome home, Wyoming veterans. Everyone's going to be there. Rocky Mountain Power has sponsored the breakfast, and it's going to be coming from Coltrane. So I think breakfast, burritos, coffee, juice, what have you. So please be there. We're saying 7:30 because we want to make sure that we're there before the governor does. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman Jost. Thank you, George. Councilman Kilpack.
I have nothing.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mayor.
Councilman Kilpack.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Go. What's the score?
30-45.
Yep.
Indiana.
The cheaters.
Sounds like you guys got some business. Seen this yet?
No, so I knew I was gonna.
I hope he gets some.
Is it a hardship for me to get home? Okay, thank you. Thank you. I will make sure these get put out.
Yes.